Thanks for staying with us. We have a special guest with us here today in the studio, U.S. Representative-elect Patrick Murphy. He'll be our new representative up in Washington, now from the 18th District of Florida, formerly the 16th District we were. Great to have you here today. Representative-elect Patrick Murphy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ed. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We thought it'd be a great idea to invite you before you go up to Washington, get real busy. You'll be getting sworn in up there. Yeah. Get a few minutes of your time here and just kind of introduce you to the people of Port St. Lucie and find out what some of your ideas are and what you think you can accomplish in the future. So Port St. Lucie, this is a big city. We have 167,000 people, so we make up a pretty good size of this new 18th Congressional District that we have here. We used to be part of the 16th. Let's talk about the change a little bit. Let's start with that first. We was redrawn by the Florida legislature, and now we're the 18th District. Talk about what is the area now that you will be representing. It's more than just Port St. Lucie.
Good. Well, again, thank you for having me on today, and thank you all for tuning in. It's an honor to be here, and look forward to working very hard for everybody. So this congressional district, it's similar to what District 16, what Congressman Rooney used to represent. Basically starts in Palm Beach Gardens, some of the acreage, some of Royal Palm, and it goes north, a little bit of Wellington as well. Goes north from there. So you have all of Martin County and all of St. Lucie County. It's a very diverse district. Great district. I've learned my way around. Wonderful people here.
It does, the new area, it sounds like you've really got so many different kinds of constituencies here. You've got agriculture, and you've got urban, and you've got environmental issues between both the beach and out west, some of the undeveloped areas out there. Quite a mix.
This district, it's truly a microcosm of Florida, and interestingly enough, it votes kind of how Florida votes as well. You have a little bit of everything, as you just said. In the south and Palm Beach Gardens, you have some of the snowbirds. You have some ag in the west, Palm Beach and west of really all three counties. Some agricultural interest. You have, of course, tourism along the coast, along the beach. The marine industries, construction. Was a bigger part of the economy here. But after the the recession, it has died down. But we're starting to see signs of life in certain areas, and the research coast is starting to expand. Between Scripps and Max Planck, VGTI, Torrey Pines, we're seeing some expansion there throughout the research coast. So a lot of opportunity here, and really honored to be serving everybody.
Oh, that's great. We think there's a lot of opportunity. We think our area is a great place to be. I think most people in the area would agree with that. You are out of the Jupiter area?
Yes, I live in Jupiter.
Right, and so really it begins kind of where you are. You're in the southern end of the district.
I'm the bottom third of it or so.
Right,
yes.
And it goes now all the way up to
through Fort Pierce, up to Vero. I mean, it goes up to the county line.
And it's right at the county line,
yes.
Almost to Vero Beach.
Yes.
Okay, and then it goes out west.
All the way to the lake.
All the way to
the lake is the western boundary of the district.
So it sounds like you're going to have your hands full just dealing with all those related issues, because there are so many variations of the things that happen, and a lot of people to represent.
Definitely, and because of that, I thought it was important to put an office in all three counties, because really the interests are so different, and we have so many different concerns and so many different constituencies to represent, that I wanted to be sure to have an open door and be very accessible to people. So we have an office here in Port St. Lucie, one in downtown Stewart, and one in Palm Beach Gardens.
And your Port St. Lucie office, I should mention, is right here in City Hall.
Yes,
we appreciate that very much. It's a good place for it. There's a lot of foot traffic here. Of course, you won't be there every day. Right. You'll be in Washington most of the time.
Right. And my calendar is public. The House of Representatives publishes a calendar on their website. And the basic schedule is in D.C. Monday to Thursday, up there with votes and committee meetings, hearings, etc. And then back in the district Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, meetings with constituents and folks. And I'll be stopping as much as I can at all three offices when I'm in town.
Okay. So let's talk about your background a little bit. You're in this area with these diverse interests. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you went to the University of Miami.
Yes.
And you were in accounting with that. So you understand some financial issues.
Yes. So I went to the University of Miami. I got a dual degree, actually, in finance and accounting. And all through college, worked as a day laborer on our family business's construction. So I was on job sites, 4:30 in the morning, worked my way up through the company. By the time I was a senior, I was an assistant project engineer, then assistant project manager on a job site. And when I graduated college, decided I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I went to work for Deloitte & Touche, one of the big 4 accounting firms, got my CPA license, and went to work. I traveled the country auditing numerous Fortune 500 companies. Spent a lot of time looking at inefficiencies, waste, and fraud, which actually is some experience I think we need in our government right now. And I decided to leave Deloitte, and I, in large part, did that because that BP oil spill happened. I'm sure you remember that. They said that oil was going to come down Florida's west coast and get in the loop current.
It was even threatening the East Coast.
Right, and it was going to come exactly down the loop current, come down the Gulf, through the Keys, and then up the East Coast through the Gulf Stream. And I was, born and raised in the Florida Keys. I'm a conch, actually, and no one down there was talking about what they were going to do to clean up or even be prepared for this oil. So, long story. A friend of a friend had invented an oil skimmer. I helped develop these oil skimmers, design them, and put together a fleet of oil skimmers. I moved to New Orleans for about 6 months and cleaned up there for months. And did that for a while, got involved down in Haiti after the earthquake. And it was really those experiences that started to open my eyes to government's involvement in all of our lives, but especially our business lives. And at Deloitte, it started off with Sarbanes-Oxley, some regulations that I thought were, what was well intended was implemented much different than the intent of it. So I was open to regulation there. Then at the oil spill, again, some government regulations and some things I thought we could do better as a country. So anyway, I was frustrated with what I was seeing from our government, and really expect a lot more, and thought we needed some new ideas, some new life, and hopefully some new energy up in Congress.
And so this was your first run for office.
Yes, it was.
It's a pretty big step to go from private sector without being in office to now being a U.S. member of the U.S. Congress. But with that background you have, as you're describing, it sounds like there are many insights that you would have that would be very well needed. Environmental issues, financial issues, always looking at how to improve the economy.
Yes.
So I guess you had formed some opinions based on those things.
Certainly. And look, we have a lot of great people in political office at all levels, but I thought it was important to have some diversity, whether it's age or background. And there's only 8 CPAs right now in Congress, and when you look at what's happening with our fiscal house, it's a mess. In my opinion, we need to put partisanship aside and look at the math, look at the arithmetic, and we need some people to understand the basics of accounting, of finance, and get our country back in order. So, some of the bigger issues that I'm most passionate about, I thought it was important to get involved at the federal level and, hopefully do my part.
And hopefully be a voice of sense there, especially financially. It is needed so badly. And everybody knows that, but you're right, there's all this different opinion, and which can be a good thing, but sometimes it can be a bit paralyzing. And I think most people would agree we've seen too much of that.
Yes.
It's time to move forward. Okay, so you also had a background in construction. This used to be a big construction town, Port St. Lucie, until the bust came along. And we're hoping that when things improve in the future, perhaps we'll get some building going on again. But I guess then you are aware of some of the interest in the building industry, what they would like to see happen to help bring building construction back, and many jobs with it.
Yes, and it's always a balance with the construction industry, but that's sort of in my blood. That's where I came up, is the family business. I guess 4 generations now in construction, and because of that, because of my background as a CPA, because of my background in construction, I worked very hard to get on a financial services committee, and I just found out today actually that I was awarded the financial services committee. Now that's actually a big deal for a freshman to get on that, so I'm very excited about that. And the big part of why I wanted to get on that is because of housing. What you just said. Florida was hit as hard as any state, pretty much, with the the mortgage and the foreclosure crisis, and St. Lucie County is no different. We were hit very hard here, and I want to be a strong voice in Washington. We do not have any Democrats on financial services right now, so I'll be that voice. A big part of what we're going to do in financial services this next Congress is housing. It's Fannie, Freddie, HUD, a lot of new requirements, a lot of new regulations that are coming through. So I want to make sure that I'm there to be a loud voice for Florida and for this district.
Great. And what do you see as, for our area, some of the big issues more locally that you think you may be able to have a voice in?
Sure.
We see the national issues, the national economy, of course, but we have our local concerns as well.
Yeah, of course. So locally, it's jobs. I mean, that's number one. I know I campaigned on, everyone campaigns on it, but it's the truth. The unemployment rate is too high here in the 18th district, and really in a lot of parts of Florida. So that's been my focus. I think my background as a CPA, as a small business owner, will really help, hopefully bring some jobs here. And I've actually been meeting with a lot of the commissioners, the mayors, a lot of the elected officials in all 3 counties, coming with some ideas that we can do, and be sure to get the federal government to help out. Whether that's through a grant, through a loan, through some public-private partnerships, and finding that balance between our environment and job creation. And there's a lot of opportunities there. It's not one or the other. A big part of our local economy is the environment. Money spent, invested on our inlets, on our waterways, on our beaches, renourishing the beaches, on the Everglades, comes back at a minimum of 4 times, they say. I've heard estimates that's up to 7 to 8 times. So it's really about return on investment, and a dollar spent on infrastructure on these waterways, inlets, beaches comes back in multiples for us, for so many industries, from real estate to hospitality to the marine industry to charter fishermen. So got to make sure that we understand the cycle here, the business cycle. And as things come back, we're starting to see a pickup in construction. We're starting to see housing come back, and of course there is a trickle down from housing with the realtors and furniture and all trades within the industry. So I am very optimistic about this area. I already mentioned the Research Coast. That's something I'm very passionate about, because I think that's what really sets this area apart from not only Florida but the country. We have places, Max Planck, Scripps, VGTI. I mean, these are world-renowned institutions coming right here to our backyard. We've got to continue expanding these facilities and making sure that the federal government, the state government, and the local government continue to incentivize them, to expand and bring high-quality, good paying jobs right here to our backyard.
That is an important point, because in your district, you have some of the other high-tech biotechs that are not here, such as Scripps down south. I guess that is in your district as well. Yes. So we talk here a lot of Torrey Pines and VGTI and the Mann Institute, but there are more in this whole district. So that's great that.
And I think that's just the beginning. I've been meeting with quite a few of the principals in those companies, and they see it as just we're in phase 1 of many phases to come, and they're starting to attract more and more not only institutions that want to come, but their spin-offs. And the more successful they are, the more that the colleges and universities want to expand their programs to provide a better workforce for those. So it's starting to build and sort of snowball.
And increasing a college's presence in a community is always good for that community.
Yes, it is.
It provides young energy, young talent, great minds, creativity, always has some good residual effects.
Exactly.
So let's talk about, I know some of you mentioned earlier working on the oil spill. The environmental issues are important to you.
Yes.
We're trying to be a greener city all the time. The city's trying to lead the way in that. We've made some changes at City Hall and our city facilities to try to save energy, be a greener place. Tell us what you see coming in the future in terms of green energy and green jobs.
Sure. Well, it's a long-term view. We have to have. We can't expect, all of a sudden 1 year to have these green jobs. We got to take that horizon and set our standards, set our sights in mind, and understand, NextEra is actually doing quite a bit. FPNL, as most people know it, is doing quite a bit with solar energy. I was at FAU at the Harbor Branch Institute this week, and they're looking at the tidal energy and some currents because of the Gulf Stream. There's a lot of opportunity there for energy creation right off our coast here. So we need to look at all options with green energy, whether that's solar, tidal, currents, and begin that process, because we're not taking advantage of the renewable resources we have right here in our backyard. But that's also really a federal issue as well. At the highest levels, we need to make sure that we are incentivizing companies to go green, and cities and counties and states to look more toward a green economy. And whether that's the energy providers or the businesses or just people themselves, the way they live their life in their house, the cars they drive, etc. So I think the government does play a role in not picking the winners and losers, but making sure that we lay out some goals, some benchmarks, and incentivize people to act in a way to get us off, fossil fuels.
That day will have to come eventually. So the society should be working on that at this point.
Yes.
All of this relates back to jobs. You talked about the importance of that, and you have the financial accounting background to help understand what has to happen. We've been hearing more and more from smaller businesses saying they're asking the city to turn their focus more to the smaller business. What can you do to help smaller businesses to make the playing field better for them, flatter, more even? I know that some of the things you've talked about in the past are removing some barriers to entry. Let's talk about small business a little bit. What else can be done? What would you hope to accomplish?
Ed, this is something I'm very passionate about, small businesses, and I think they're so overlooked at the federal level. Unfortunately, too many folks put their interest in the big businesses, and that's not the backbone. It's the mom and pops. It's the small businesses that are the backbone of this country and this district. So that's something that I'm very adamant about, and ensuring that our government's doing everything we can to look after those small businesses. And really, with my background, I spent several years looking at numerous Fortune 500 companies, looking at the way they manage, whether it's through regulations and taxes and their lobbyists in D.C., versus my little business that I had, a little environmental company that I started to clean up after the BP oil spill, and the difference there. And unfortunately, in a lot of circumstances, we're held to the same standards. But you can't hardly compare, the GEs of the world, the Exxons, to a little, 2, 3, 4, 5 person shop, and expect them to be able to handle all these regulations. So we need to ensure that our government understands the difference. And when it comes to regulation, it's not about more or less regulation. It's smarter regulation, and ensuring that we balance that, cost-benefit ratio. And, I don't think anybody would argue that it was, too much regulation that got us into this mess in 2007, 8, this recent recession. But we can't let the pendulum swing too far. We can't over-regulate and put a crunch on business. We've got to find that balance. And I think we saw it with Sarbanes-Oxley. The pendulum went a little too far, and it's starting to come back a little bit. Same thing with Dodd-Frank. We need to find that balance. I think it's important to have people from the private industry that can help identify where that balance is and ensure that the small businesses aren't adversely affected by these regulations. And the same can be said with the tax code. Our tax code is just riddled with loopholes and deductions. And it's really it's very unfortunate that the large companies, the Exxons, the Shells, pay 0% in tax. That's unsustainable. And when we talk about tax, it's not about class warfare or anything like that. It's just about fairness. And I know what I paid, a small business owner, what so many small businesses owners in this district that I speak with, what they're paying, and it's a lot more than some of the largest corporations making tens of billions of dollars in profit, and they're not paying taxes. So it's finding that balance and making sure everyone's paying their fair share, but making sure that the small businesses have an opportunity, because they're the ones that need a helping hand.
And it could be maddening for a small business to have to hire a team of CPAs to come out and figure out what they need to do tax-wise, and it eats into their profits. And I know that's one of the things that stresses them out sometimes.
Yes.
Well, we don't want to take too much of your time, but a couple of things to point out. Is it accurate you are going to be the youngest member of Congress? Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It means that you'll have many years of opportunity to get in there.
One thing I'll add to that, the Democratic caucus that was just elected of the freshman class, for the first time ever, the majority of members are either women or minorities. So this is a very diverse freshman class. One other thing I'd like to point out that I think is important for everybody to hear is that this particular freshman class of Congress, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, was elected on a message of bipartisanship, doing what it takes to reach across the aisle and come to a deal. So much different than 2010, that sort of my way, the highway mentality. This is a very different class. So hopefully that message of bipartisanship works its way up to leadership in Congress and to our president, et cetera. Because whatever the problem is that you lay out, whatever the issue is, you've got to solve in a bipartisan fashion. So I hope I'm a loud voice for that, and we can continue beating that drum.
I think in our community here, most people are just more interested in results and maybe not as much allegiance to parties as there may have been in the past, because we've seen good things and bad from both sides, and people just want results. And what you were talking about earlier, jobs. Jobs is the big one right now. Can it be done without destroying our environment? Can we provide better things for the future? Got a lot of other subjects we could talk to you about, but maybe we'll save that for another time, another show. We can get into education and all the other issues as well.
Great.
But it was just a great opportunity to
thank you.
Bring you in here and talk to the people of Port St. Lucie a little bit. We appreciate your time.
Good. Well, thank you, Ed. Thanks for your time, and to everyone tuning in. Whether you supported my opponent, supported me, or didn't vote, I want to be your voice in Washington. I want to listen to your concerns. So please come to my office, call me, email me, and I'm going to work very hard for everybody. So thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Great. Thank you. U.S. Representative-elect Patrick Murphy from the 18th District. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
All right.
And we'll be right back after this quick message.